An hour after sunrise, the former head of Canada's Army pounds the pavement on Petrie Island alongside the Ottawa River. Andrew Leslie has always run to stay in shape for soldiering. Now he's running for the Liberals in the riding of Orléans.
I'm enjoying it a great deal. I've met tens of thousands of wonderful people and get to interact with them. And working hard, and I have a wonderful team. So to be honest, I haven't been this engaged or this active since my time in the Army.
Comment ça va, monsieur?
How are you doing?
The riding is now held by Royal Galipeau, a longtime local councillor and former Liberal who switched to the Conservatives 10 years ago. He's looking for his fourth straight victory.
Well, I don't know what the outcome is going to be, and I don't take it for granted. I've never had the sense of entitlement in Orléans, and so that's why we work hard. We don't only work hard at election time, but we work hard day in and day out, all year long.
NDP hopes are riding high on Nancy Tremblay. She's a biologist at Environment Canada and runs a horse farm on the side. While Orléans has always gone either red or blue, she insists it's now a three-horse race.
I think my chances are great. You know, the orange wave is coming to Orléans. We are constantly putting out signs. We're constantly getting volunteers. The energy is great. People want change. You know, we are the official opposition right now. We are the only ones in a position to take over Stephen Harper.
Orléans is a bedroom community, a suburb of the nation's capital. Without traffic, it's a 20-minute drive to Parliament Hill, but a lot longer for commuters along Highway 174 during the morning rush hour. About 120,000 people live here. 30% are francophones. The level of education is mixed. 1/3 of residents have a university degree. Many work for the government. It's also a popular enclave for members of the military. Those government jobs provide a comfortable living. The average family income is $124,000 a year, putting it in the top 40% of ridings across Canada. New businesses are moving in, and despite cuts to the civil service, Orléans still seems to be booming. New subdivisions are popping up everywhere in what were once farmers' fields. Orléans used to be among the safest of strongholds for the Liberals. They racked up more than 50% of the vote here during the Chrétien years. The Conservatives won it for the first time in 2006 in the election that brought Stephen Harper to power, and they've held on to it in the 2 elections since. Now the Liberals are battling to get it back, with one of their star candidates, a former general, leading the charge. Now, both your grandfathers served in the military and were Liberal defense ministers. Your father served in the military and ran unsuccessfully for the Liberals in 1974. Is this sort of a family thing?
I think what's in the family is that tradition of service, service before self. Of course, I admire all my relatives and ancestors a great deal. I'm proud to have been a soldier in the same regiments that they were in, the artillery. I'm proud to have been an Army soldier, and I'm equally proud to be a member of the Liberal Party and running for office.
Leslie was in uniform for 35 years. He served as Deputy Commander of the International Security Force in Afghanistan, and in 2006, Harper appointed him as Chief of the Land Staff. He retired 4 years ago. Why did you jump into politics?
A couple of good reasons and one bad example. And the good reasons are I was attracted to the centrist views of being fiscally prudent but socially compassionate of the Liberal Party. I know Mr. Trudeau. I admire his leadership and his vision for Canada, and I felt I had more to contribute. The bad reason is I saw some of the vindictive, secretive nature of the Harper government, and I felt it was time for a change, and I wanted to be part of that change.
So what is it about Stephen Harper that irked you the most?
I would say that Mr. Harper and his team, remember that old hidden agenda fear that Canadians had? Well, once he got his majority, I think some of the concerns have risen to the fore because they're based in fact. So that vindictive, secretive nature, the win at all costs, the relentless attack of those who dare to disagree with them, and also a legitimate concern about the fiscal management and two issues which are near and dear to my heart, the treatment of veterans and the continual spin that surrounds the Harper government approach to D&D and equipment, wherein they've underspent $10.7 billion out of the D&D equipment budget since 2006 and $1 billion out of the veterans budget. And quite frankly, those two big issues help steer me towards the Liberal Party.
Leslie lives in this house in Ottawa's upscale Rockcliffe neighborhood in the riding next door to Orléans, but he insists he has strong links to justify his candidacy.
Well, I'm an East End Ottawa boy. I was born in what was then Ottawa Orleans. Of course, I moved 18 times during my career, and I moved probably 16 times during my father's career, so we were away a lot. My children have all gone to East End Ottawa schools. We make extensive use of the Montfort with bumps and scrapes and bruises as my kids were growing up, and I've got literally thousands of friends and former co-workers that live in the riding. I live in the same riding as Mr. Gallipo.
He's outside the riding, too.
I live in the same riding as Mr. Gallipo. He lives in Ottawa Vanier.
Right, not Rockcliffe.
Ottawa Vanier.
When Royal Gallipo finds out his rival has been jogging here on Petrie Island, he trumpets his own roots in Orleans and takes a jibe at Leslie for just visiting.
I'm glad he's discovered Petrie Island. A lot of people in Orleans have been enjoying Petrie Islands for generations.
So
my family has.
You're suggesting Andrew Leslie's a bit of a newcomer, a parachute candidate?
No, but I'm suggesting that it's a good thing that people here in Orleans are taking possession of Petrie Island and enjoying it. Mm-hmm. And I hope that during his visit from Rockcliffe, he will enjoy it too.
Mm-hmm. So, but you live outside the riding too, a few blocks outside the riding.
As a matter of fact, you're right. But that wasn't by choice. The riding boundaries kept changing. Mm-hmm. I just didn't move, but I'm rooted here. Mm-hmm. I've always been rooted here. My grandfathers were town councillors here, and I've been serving this community for a whole lifetime. Nearly 10 years as a member of Parliament, and previously as an elected member of City Council.
He takes issue with suggestions that health and age are catching up. You're 68 years old. You're suffering, living with cancer. Did you think that maybe it was time to step down, leave it to someone younger and healthier?
I have discussed this with my family, and my family is completely engaged in the work that I do. And anyone that wants to turn my health into an election issue, they should look at my voting record in the House. There's not another MP, younger or healthier, who has a better record than I do. My voting record is 99.5% or better. And
but still, do you feel you have the energy and health to do the kind of job you have to do as an MP?
The fact is, I am doing it, and I have done it. And even when I had to be hospitalized, I didn't miss a vote. I put my pants on, and I was in the House, and I voted.
Royal, this is you're looking for your fourth victory. What's different this campaign?
Every election is difficult. The political tradition in this district don't generally favor the political party that I represent, and so they're all difficult. But in a way, the people of Orleans are very wise, and they know how to set aside partisanship, as I have for a whole lifetime. And
you were a Liberal once.
I actually voted Liberal more often than I've voted anything else, like most people in Orleans. And but when the Liberals invited me to be a candidate way back, I declined respectfully.
And you ran for the Conservatives the first time in 2006. You won. You've won twice since.
Yeah.
This time,
each time with an increased plurality.
Yeah. This time, what would strike one as different is nationally. It seems like a tighter three-way race. What does that mean for you here? Are you sort of hoping the NDP and the Liberals split the vote and you sneak up the middle, or?
I've never been a sneaky guy, and every vote I've ever earned, I've earned it on my own. It was not a fluke that I got elected the first time. It's not a fluke that my plurality tripled the second time, and it's not a fluke that my plurality increased the third time. If I win a fourth time, it won't be a fluke.
Dinner, dinner, dinner!
Nancy Tremblay and her husband own 40 horses. They breed them and sell foals. They also offer riding lessons. But her life hasn't been as easy as it might look. She grew up poor, borrowed money to go to school, now has to juggle farm duty with the demands of a full-time job and 2 young kids.
I'm Nancy Tremblay. I am the NDP candidate for Orleans.
Her background, she says, makes it easier to connect with voters.
I feel like I relate to people here in Orleans, and I am a small business owner. I have been working for the federal service for the last almost 10 years, or the public service for the last 10 years, and I'm a mother of young children, so I understand what the struggles are that people go through. And so when I talk to people, I hear those same struggles. I hear the same things that I've went through that I understand. And so it's really easy for me to relate to people and to, really want to bring that change because I've been there. I know what it's like.
So Nancy, this riding has only ever gone red or blue. The NDP's never gotten more than 15% in the riding. What makes you think it'll be different this time?
Well, historically, that's true. However, when you look at when we vote for a Conservative MP, it generally is a Conservative Prime Minister. If we vote for a Liberal MP, it's a Liberal Prime Minister. So since this riding has been Ottawa, Orleans, and now only Orleans, that's the historical trend. So, obviously, as you can see, Tom Mulcair is doing very well nationally, and so I think people are paying attention to the national a lot more than in previous years.
So what appeals about the NDP in this riding that you think it could lead to a, excuse me, boy, to a breakthrough?
Yeah, well, I think one of the biggest things is that people are looking for change. They're looking in the news and they're seeing all this negativity with regards to the current government, and, they're paying attention, especially right now because there's an election and people are just getting fed up, and so they're looking for change. And historically, yes, there was a red door and there was a blue door, but now there's an orange option, and so there's a lot of people that are thinking about us for the first time. And a lot of the door knocking that I've been doing they're either voting for us or they're on the fence and they're not sure.
As for the Green candidate in Orleans, he admits he's a long shot. Raphael Morin is a recent graduate in environmental sciences. His wife Michelle originally planned to run, but with their first baby due 3 days after the election, the job went to her husband instead. Raphael, why did you want to run for the Green Party?
Well, really, I'm an environmentalist at heart. I do believe in sustainable living and living within our means, whether it be in our community, at the provincial, the country, or the global level. I am vegan for animal rights reasons, environmental reasons, and for social reasons. I believe that the Green Party endorses my beliefs the best. And I believe the platform is excellent and represents my values.
You are new to politics. You're with a party that doesn't have much of an organization in this riding. What help have you got?
Well, I certainly have my wife, who is very supportive, and I do have, I am part of different green communities in Ottawa.
But you don't have a huge campaign organization?
No, we're still working at it. I'm still working at gathering my team. We are aiming to work as a collaboration, but for the time being, I have Jonathan, who is very active in the Green Party and helping me.
Obviously, you're probably realistic enough to believe you don't have a great chance of winning.
Right.
What is it you hope to accomplish by running in this election?
I just want to give it my full potential. Because there are no expectations, I view this as a great opportunity to give it all I got and to express my beliefs and my opinions.
Hi, Andy Leslie, federal Liberal candidate.
That's a handshake.
Now I'm going to really squeeze it down right after he said that. Yeah. Okay, let's try it again. Try it again. No, my God, you're a monster. Stop that. You should think about a career in the Army, by the way.
Good. Let me ask you a question on the spot. Ready?
Sure.
What's your position on climate change?
So if we
That's
don't,
an issue that would matter most to my generation.
it matters most to all of us. If we don't do something about it now, then it will be too late.
Hey, how are you?
Both the main opposition parties are fighting to cash in on what they sense is anger and fatigue with the Harper Conservatives.
How are you? I'm the candidate for Orléans for the NDP for the federal election. Do you plan to vote?
Yes.
Yeah? Are you a decided voter?
No conservative, for sure.
You're conservative?
Not
Not conservative, okay.
It's especially high, they say, in a riding with such a large concentration of civil servants and military. Across Canada, in many places, probably the Mike Duffy trial and the alleged cover-up by the Prime Minister's office doesn't play top of mind. But, you know, this is inside the Beltway, as they say. How does that play? What is that? What's the fallout from that in this riding?
Well, very often there's a little bit of an anybody but Harper syndrome that kicks in. And when you spend some time at the doors and you drill down in an exchange of ideas with whoever you're talking to, it's a strong desire to institute such change such that Mr. Harper no longer remains as our Prime Minister.
Well, I don't know how other ridings are responding specifically, but definitely people here in Orleans are talking about it. It's in the news. It's a local thing in the sense that it's happening in Ottawa. And so, you know, we're hearing about it a lot. And of course, people just feel like it's not transparent. They feel like, you know, there's a cover up. They feel like there's something dirty going on. And it's just the general feeling that people seem to have. And they're upset. You know, it shouldn't be like that.
Tremblay also knows firsthand the frustration of government scientists over job cuts and alleged muzzling by the Conservatives.
Well, when I started my job almost 10 years ago, you know, there was 40 of us that were working together on as a team. And once the Conservatives came into power and we started seeing the cuts, there was 15 of us left. And so, you know, we were directly affected by the cuts, obviously very heavily. And 15 people cannot do the same amount of work that 40 people are doing, and so we have to make cuts, and what do you cut and what do you decide is not important anymore. And, you know, these are people that are scientists, these are people with integrity that take pride in their work, and when you feel like, you know, things are not the best that they can be, then that's where people start to push back.
She's pushing an NDP plan to appoint an independent parliamentary science officer.
Are the Liberals going to win this riding?
Her rival, Andrew Leslie, was front and center when Justin Trudeau announced the plan to increase support for veterans by $300 million a year.
So my name's Andy Leslie. I'm a veteran, former soldier.
It's all part of a fight between the Liberals and NDP to be the party to benefit if change is in the air and Orleans voters drift away from the Conservatives. How do you make sure that you are seen as the agent of change and not the NDP, which has a strong candidate this time and is doing quite well in the polls nationally?
So it all gets down to the vision, the team that comprises the Liberal candidates that are stepping forward. That resonates well once people get a better understanding of the other members of the team, other candidates and those that are already elected. And also concrete plans that have the detail behind them to be substantive. So I think the veterans announcement played extraordinarily well here in the riding, where there's thousands of veterans, and the Liberal veteran or proposed veterans policy is one which respects their service, their contributions, their sacrifice, and allocates more resources to take care of those troops who fought so hard on our behalf. The infrastructure plan is resonated particularly well here in Orleans, where you've got a bundle of resources allocated to heavy and light infrastructure, another bundle to social service infrastructure, and the third bundle to environmental activities. The whole idea of, as we enter into a recession, a Harper recession, of a discussion at the door as, well, what's the best way to get through it? Do you hack and slash public service jobs? Do you trim back the military? You don't allocate resources to your veterans? You stop social consciousness and the resources that goes along with it? Or do you actually invest a bit into our future, which is the Liberal position, and you give them details on how much that's going to cost, what the interest rates to actually borrow the money might be for a very finite period of time, and people actually understand that and respect it. Once again, a very politically astute and aware riding here.
Any concern about Justin Trudeau promising or saying that he's not afraid to run deficits and will in fact run deficits over the first 3 years?
I think Mr. Trudeau is being completely and absolutely honest with the Canadian people. If you add up the promises that Mr. Harper has made, which is roughly $14 billion that we know about, and that of Mr. Mulcair, one begins to start to wonder where they're going to find the money from.
If people are talking change, how do you ensure that you're the vehicle as opposed to Andrew Leslie, the Liberal?
Yeah, well, I mean, we have a plan, and, you know, from what I've seen so far, there isn't really a Liberal plan. So we have a plan that our party has put forth, and we've started releasing parts of our platform, you know, over the last year, whereas we haven't really known very much about what the Liberals are planning.
Thomas Mulcair has tacked a little bit towards the centre with this promise of a balanced budget, which doesn't really sit well with all elements of the NDP. How's that playing in this riding?
Well, you know, I think it's important to be fiscally responsible, and, you know, for me, for example, you know, I run a business, and I think it's important to budget and plan and do things properly and not, you know, go over the deep end with things.
So if you're going to, you know, expose any deep, dark Liberal secrets, just think twice.
Okay.
As Andrew Leslie rallies the troops to go out to canvass, part of the ground war that could decide this riding, he also faces some fallout from past Liberal infighting. Are you backing Andrew Leslie?
I'm not backing any candidate.
Lawyer David Berchi ran for the Liberals in Orléans in the last election, ran for the party leadership against Justin Trudeau, and wanted to run here again this time. But party officials barred him from running for the nomination. He's suing the party, he's not supporting Leslie, and says many of his supporters won't either because of the way he was treated.
The voters will decide what's relevant, and that, to some people, may be really relevant, and I suspect a number of them will be voting for one of the other major parties, or maybe a number of other parties.
The decision to pull your ticket, not let you run, and basically clear the way for Andrew Leslie, how do you think that reflects on Justin Trudeau's leadership?
Well, Canadians want a leader who is honest, open, trustworthy, prepared to work for the country, and walk the talk. And I think his record will speak for itself when it comes time to vote. So I think a number of people, including myself, were very disappointed with involvement, interference in the nomination process, and not allowing the people of Orleans, and that's what it's all about, the people having a chance to vote for a candidate of their choice.
So as a former soldier, you understand taking flack from your own side. You're taking some flack from David Berchi.
Well, I'm certainly not getting at the doors. We've done close to 84,000 since January with a wonderful team that's growing day by day, all solid, committed Liberals, and this great desire for change is really manifesting itself amongst the electorate.
But Berchi says he won't support you. He said there's many people who'd supported him that won't support you. Those are crucial votes. Are you worried that could make a difference?
That's his opinion. Whatever happened between Mr. Berchi and the Liberal Party is between Mr. Berchi and the Liberal Party. It has nothing to do with me.
All this talk about change and who has the best chance to beat him doesn't seem to faze Royal Galipeau.
So tell me why people should buy local honey instead of honey from the store.
Well, first of all, Billy B's honey is 95% Argentinian or Chinese honey.
Fair enough.
By law, they can call it Canadian honey, even though they mix it with 5% honey.
Yeah.
He talks about businesses he's helped bring to the riding, along with federal money for light rail transit and cleanup of the Ottawa River. He insists he only hears positives about Stephen Harper.
The people at the door are actually quite pleased with the fact that we have a solid captain at the till during these world economic difficulties.
And he mocks Andrew Leslie's complaints about treatment of veterans.
To tell you the truth, in the time that I've been in Parliament, we have increased our support for veterans by 35%. And maybe there's a few generals that don't understand that, but a lot of corporals do.
And Gallipeau denies there's any groundswell for change because Orléans got the change it needed when it kicked out the Liberals.
I actually see that one of my opponents has a poster about change. He's promoting change. But really, his message is not that he wants change. He wants to return Orléans to the tradition it had before. Orléans has voted for change.
You're talking about Mr. Leslie of the Liberals.
Orléans voted for change when they elected me. The key issue from my point of view is to continue the work that's already been started, to manage the change that the people of Orléans have given themselves 9 years ago, and to build on that change so that it doesn't get lost.
So you're trying to say that voting for Conservative is voting for change?
I'm saying that change is a good word. Managing change is even better, and that the people of Orléans voted for change 9 years ago, and it's working very well. And it's working very well because it's being managed in a prudent way.
But Dave Rushton, a retired civil servant, wants to get rid of the Conservatives, and he's canvassing for Vote Smart Orléans, a group that's trying to make that happen.
We have in our group multi-partisans from a variety of parties, and possibly even some disaffected conservatives, small c conservatives. But the concern is that we believe that the Harper government has done a lot of damage to the country.
Their plan? Strategic voting for whomever looks like the best bet to topple Gallipeau.
And on election day, when you go to vote, think about in your own head, who does it seem to you is the party with the best chance to defeat the Conservative candidate in this riding? It may not be your party of choice. It may be another one of the parties. But by voting strategically that way, you have a better chance of defeating the Conservative candidate. And we also avoid splitting the vote and allowing the Conservative candidate to come up the middle.
A woman with a Tremblay sign on her lawn gets the pitch that she might have to think about voting for Leslie instead.
If it's the Liberals that look like they're the best position to defeat the Conservatives, we're asking you to consider voting for them, even though that's not your party of choice.
Right.
Because at the federal level, you may want to support the party, but at this level, if you vote for a candidate and you split the vote again, you end up, in a sense, with the same situation you were trying to change.
Yeah, no, I agree. I actually voted Liberal once when there was Stockwell Day. There was a possibility of him.
So this is the kind of situation that we're talking about here.
Right.
As Royal Gallipeau fights to hang on to the riding, his two main rivals look for the momentum and votes to knock off the incumbent. For CPAC, I'm Roger Smith in Orleans.